in LA.
And you might have seen her on TV if you live in California. But she is worldwide better known for a documentary film that she made, which is called Plastic Paradise. And Angela, maybe you can tell us a little bit about you, what motivates you to fight against plastic and so on. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Thank you so much, Chris, for having me. This is super fun to be able to connect with you, even though I guess this is just 2020 social distancing and Zoom style or, video conference style. Yeah, a little background about me. I'm the director and producer of Plastic Paradise, the Great Pacific Garbage Patch documentary, and coming to you from Los Angeles. Here's my kitchen. and I've, you know what's funny? I actually forgot. I'm gonna have to run over to my living room coffee table and get you the reason that I feel like ocean conservation and plastic pollution and everything has been ingratiated to my upbringing. And I'm gonna hold on 1 second. I'm gonna run really quick.
So we can look at Angela's beautiful kitchen.
So I was at my mom's house helping her clean, and she's moving, but it's like a time capsule in there. And I found this little book. It says "Down by the Sea: A Modern Day Fairy Tale," and I
By
wrote this when I was in
Angela.
fifth grade. This is before I like knew how to surf, was really into the oceans and everything. And it's about this bodacious surfer Johnny, and I this is like a digital typewriter. I think this is very old, and it talks about how he saves the world and helps clean up ocean pollution. And it's funny because it's Johnny from Southern California and everything. And I didn't live here. I lived probably 30 minutes away from the ocean up in the Bay Area. And it just kind of, this is Johnny and his friends. But it's just this whole little like children's book I wrote. And he has to choose about keeping this like sea star that fell out of the sky to make him the best surfer in the world, or throw it back into the sea and that'll clean up the ocean pollution forever. And he throws it back.
Wow.
And it's just funny because I was like, wow, this is so crazy going back into the time capsule. I guess I've always had this love for the oceans and for environmentalists or environmental movements and stuff. And yeah, it's interesting how you pick up your personality and who you are at such a young age like this. And throughout my career, I've covered so many different things from live events to sports to uh, game shows to news to documentaries and stuff. And the through line has always been the outdoors, the ocean. And that's kind of a really, really long backstory of how and why I decided to create this documentary.
That's beautiful. I actually, that's awesome. I think, I don't know if I have anything remotely comparable. This is, I think you should frame that. I don't know,
This is
put a little bit gold
multiple
glitter on it.
decades old.
I'm a little bit disappointed though that it was Johnny, a dude, that is actually doing something and not little Angela that is surfing and doing stuff. But it's okay. Maybe, I don't know the psychology behind it. Yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit for those that haven't seen the documentary yet. Can you give us like a short, just kind of abstract of what the film is about? I mean, obviously about plastic pollution, but maybe a little bit more in detail, and also why. Why? I mean, you could have done so many different things, right? To kind of tackle the issue. So why this documentary?
So I actually didn't go to film school. I went to UCLA and I studied sociology and have a BA and everything. But I knew I wanted to do something in the media, and there wasn't really people who looked like me who were doing this at the time, right? So it wasn't like I want to be like, the only thing I had was Connie Chung, really, which she's like a famous newscaster here. So it was like, oh, okay, news or news media or something like that. I can go into non-scripted programming. And I never really sought out, I call it like sort of the accidental activist, because I feel like it shouldn't be so siloed in terms of like, oh, you're this part, you're this part, you're the environmentalist movement, you're this issue or whatever. Maybe it's social justice. It's all there's this new term that this young woman Leah Thomas has coined, intersectional environmentalism. And it's just, I think we should all care about the environment, and it shouldn't be siloed into, just this type of person or whatnot. So I call myself the accidental activist or environmentalist because I was just curious. I really just wanted to know what was going on. I heard through a couple news articles. Now, this was a long time ago when I first heard about it. And Captain Charlie Moore went out and, sailed through the patch and has been talking about it for decades, literally. He went out in 97 into this Great Pacific Garbage Patch, or, like everyone said, there was this weird, mysterious floating island. So I was like, what is this floating island in the Pacific Ocean? And I first heard about it in, 2005. So it was 15 years ago. Like lots have changed. Lots have changed, but then not a lot has changed. And then it took a couple years to get through all the red tape and to be able to, make it happen. And then taking that leap of faith that we're just going to go and see what we find. We didn't really have a plan. It wasn't like we had this full budgeted out, like, let's do this documentary. It was like, let's get a camera person. Like, let's get, we got some funding, like just to go out there. And I didn't expect it to become a feature length anything. I was like, what do I even do with this? So I learned throughout the process even how to make a film, which I have so much respect for anyone who's doing independent documentaries. Like every time I meet a director or producer and they've done one, we kind of just like look at each other and like give each other like, yeah, you've been there. Like we know how it feels because, it's really a job of many hats and you're wearing every single hat because, and I feel like there needs to be more value in this type of programming. And I know it's very different in Germany because there's public funds too. And I don't know how it is in Costa Rica or in other parts of the world. I know in Canada as well. And Australia, there's more grant money to do projects like this. But in the US, it's very much like, you've got to strap it and do it yourself and try to figure it out either through, I started this when there was no Kickstarter or crowdfunding or, GoFundMe, donation platform, anything. So it was really like taking time out of my day job, which I love as well, which is, TV presenting and, hosting and doing shows and sports broadcasting and such to be able to do this. And it was definitely like a side hustle for a long time. And then it became what it became. But it was really the question of like, what is this mysterious island of plastic in the middle of the ocean? And, I need to know more. What's going on? And then you start digging and it's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Of, you're just scratching literal ocean surface. And then you dig deep into the reasons why, where it came from, how it became, where we're going, where we're headed, like looking at recycling now. Why were we fed this idea of recycling instead of turning off the tap? So many different things that came down the pipeline, but it was only through living that full experience throughout the years, I feel like, to be able to gain that knowledge. And I think that's something that a lot of people, especially when I was younger, like you feel like this rush to like, just gotta get it out, gotta do it now, gotta do, like, why am I not where I'm at right now or whatever. And I think it's all in due time. And I still can't believe, that's why I say I can and I can't believe that we're still talking about the issue, 15, 20 years later.
Yes, definitely. So how many years did it take in total to actually film the documentary? Sorry, that was my first question that I didn't want to interrupt.
It was probably like a multi-year, like probably 3 or 4 years, because I would do some and then I would stop down and, I would be busy with work. And then other people who were helping were busy too. So it was like coordinating schedules, or they had to move on to a project because it was, I didn't really have a budget. And so a lot of favors from friends, a lot of thank yous. Like I never realized how much, at the end of the movie credits, when you like, most people are just like, okay, I'm done with the movie, I'm going to walk out or whatever. I like actually watch all of those now, after doing a film. And you're like, wow, I know every single person and every single credit on there. And you realize how much work it goes into creating anything really, let alone like, the big.
I have never done a documentary film. It's actually funny because you call yourself the accidental activist and I call myself the accidental storyteller because,
Ah,
I'm a scientist and I haven't studied media. I haven't done any of that. So my video was the one, that kind of threw me into this whole media storytelling realm. And I'm a total novice. So I do photography. That's kind of, what I'm doing. But other than that, I have no clue about filmmaking or any of that. So it's super impressive. I can just knowing how much it takes to edit photos, I can only imagine what it is when you have, audio and cutting and all of that. It's just like too much.
it's a
And
lot. You just have to kind of take it like, you know, a little bit at a time. And I guess like I'm a bit of a perfectionist too. So the thing with editing is you can always be editing, which is bad. You got to like cut it off at one point and just be like, I'm sure it is with photos and stuff too.
Well, or
Um,
even with my doctoral dissertation, we have a saying that says a good doctoral dissertation is a done one because it will never be perfect. You can work for 20 years and you will not have the perfect document. So at one point you just have to call it a day and say it is what it is and this is enough for me to graduate and move on with my life.
I mean,
And
you
yeah,
so much time and energy and, just I commend you on you know, doing, or you kind of got thrown into the media realm as well. But, I commend you on jumping in too on that side because I've, talking to scientists and working with a lot of people in the science realm. It's, it's definitely something we need more too. We need that, you know, educational information, edutainment, or what is it? SciComm. We need
yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, we scientists tend to sit on the ivory tower, just like another silo, as you would call it. We just call it ivory tower because it sounds nicer. And the problem is really we just talk to each other and we don't talk to the people that actually need to know about the science that we are, producing.
Hmm.
And
No,
I think
and I
I
think
think we're really bad at communicating, honestly. We really are. I mean, every time I learn something new about like the theory behind communication, I'm just thinking, yeah, we're doing it all wrong. We every scientific conference, it's like no wonder we're getting bored with our own presentations because everything that you can do wrong in communication is like you can just mark it off the checklist, how we
uh,
use PowerPoint, how we use fonts, how we talk, using jargon, everything, all of that, all of the above. And I think really, but the sad thing is amongst your peers, you have to be really careful that you don't get a bad rep for venturing outside of the normal because, all of a sudden then you're not a good scientist anymore, even though it doesn't say anything about your science if you're able to communicate it, even, a little bit simpler maybe and not jargony.
yeah, I
But
think it's a fine balance of the two. And nowadays in the TikTok world and, Instagram, like instantaneous connection world, there's a lot to sift through
yeah,
and there's a lot of misinformation about a lot of things, especially during this pandemic times. So I do think it's important that, having that fine balance of like you do need to have the nuts and bolts but also at the same time being able to communicate proper and
yeah.
clear in a fun way. I think so. I feel like the film has done that throughout the years, and I think the most rewarding thing is hearing from uh, younger kids who have seen that. Oh, I saw it in my science classes, or I changed my major to marine science because I saw it, or I feel like that gives me hope for the future, and also like it gives me the confidence to go do more. And I'd like to support more in that realm as well. So yeah.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And you know what? The other thing that you said is about you can't believe that we're still talking about this issue 15
Mhm.
years later. And I was just thinking because I was writing something yesterday, and the first ever documented ingestion of plastic by sea turtles was in 1984, I think, and a
Mhm.
leatherback turtle. So this is like over 30 years, so we knew already about it for such a long time. And for some reason, really, up until only recently, people feel the need to really do something about it. And that is actually what really scares
Well,
me, because I feel it would have been maybe easier to kind of put a lid on it if it wouldn't have waited for such a long time, you know?
I mean, I think now with technology, like, I mean, in any instance of, you know, many different movements right now, being able to capture that moment, which you did so beautifully and horrifyingly as well, you know, just seeing what taking that straw out of the turtle's nose, like that was, you know, one of the impetus points that really kind of pushed it over for people. And I think I mean, that is the citizen journalism part. I mean, you know, on top of like your, you know, amazing science background too. And so that adds to the conversation. I mean, it just basically catapulted the conversation to the forefront, which I think was what was necessary. Cause, you know, cause it's like, well, why didn't get it buzz in 84? You know, like, is it because people didn't care as much? Is it, I think just technology has allowed us to get information, so much information at our fingertips at any given moment that, you know, it's being able to decipher what's real, what's not, and having authentic voices in whatever fields it is telling the truth, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the big thing that I see, just like, because there's so much out there, and people a lot of times that don't know very well are the ones that kind of yell the loudest. You know, I don't know. So they kind of sometimes drown out the voices that we really need to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I hope that we will get better at somehow filtering that in the future. But kind of circling back to the plastic issue. So you did the film, and actually I was witness of one of those interactions that you said that you love so much, when somebody comes up. Remember Christian in at the Vancouver Aquarium? It was like the sweetest thing ever. I mean, I love Christian as well. He's such a great, amazing. Well, I can't call him kid anymore. Like, such a great dude. I think he will do amazing things in future. And yeah, I mean, just seeing that, like, your film has sparked all of that in him is absolutely incredible. I mean, you must feel so proud and so, I don't know, like that. This is what you made the film for. You know, this is so worth the while.
Yeah, no, I definitely did. That was a really kind of weird time for me. And so, and I was feeling really down about a couple things and kind of questioning my role or purpose, even in journalism and what I was doing and kind of, you know, the trajectory of like what I've been doing. And it was just the perfect moment that I like, it was so welcomed to feel that, you know, that it affected somebody. And I think that's the goal in general for most journalists. I mean, I can't speak for all, but like for me personally is to be able to give a voice to these stories that, you know, you're adding information, you're not just regurgitating and resharing, but adding that information, which is what is so important with the science too, that you guys keep, um, you know, with your research and new research findings and such. But yeah, that was a really sweet moment because that totally, I so needed that day. I was not doing well that day. So, yeah, I mean, that's really what motivates me to keep going. And I think, to kind of mention, so I'm working on a new story right now for work. Profiling this young woman, Leah Thomas, who brought the whole idea of, you know, the environmentalist movement is everyone's movement, and it disproportionately affects Black and Brown communities. That's something that a lot of us know, but not really nailed on the head. And so I think with the recent civil protests against police brutality and what's been going on in the U.S., and you know, I've been really entrenched in all of it from the beginning too, just covering it and um, being a part of, you know, just the whole coverage of it and what's going on, at least in Southern California. Um, she really kind of nailed it that like we need to look at, it's the intersectional environmentalist pledge, or it's about, you know, giving voices to those people who don't have a voice, or like are not being heard, or uplifting BIPOC activists and such too. And I feel like strongly in the environmental movement and even the plastics movement too, that there just needs to be, um, I guess,
More diverse voices, maybe.
acknowledgement and uplifting of others who have been doing stuff, who, um, unfortunately, through what's been going on through the lens of, uh, the systemic racism that we keep talking about in discussions, just even with friends. I just think it's important to address in the environmental movement, and specifically in the ocean conservation and plastic pollution movement as well.
Totally honest with you. I mean, I've been working in Costa Rica for 13 years now with mainly rural communities.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it was almost a cultural shock when I entered kind of the US American world of NGOs.
Mm-hmm.
And you see this very white, very privileged demographic, right? That is talking about the issues, but it's never representatives from the actual people themselves that I work with, and that are deeply affected by changes of their resources, by fish that isn't as abundant anymore as it used to be, by plastic pollution that is literally, well, polluting everything of their life, and so many other examples. And I got a little bit disheartened sometimes, and I think it's such, I mean, with all the horrible things that have happened, I'm so happy that we finally have this conversation, that we finally, talk about how important social sustainability is for environmental sustainability as well. I mean, it has always been a theory. I mean, ever since I've been studying conservation biology and sustainability, you always talk about the three pillars of sustainability are environmental, economical, and social. But, you don't really talk about in detail the social aspect, right? That how you empower local communities, how you also provide role models, right? So, I mean, for example, your own little story when you were a little child, I wonder how different it would have been if you had this, maybe somebody that looked like you when you were little, right? That you kind of felt you can aspire to. And even I, I'm white, but I'm a woman. So if you just think about the big ocean explorers, at least from the European side, I didn't get to know Dr. Sylvia Earle up until way later in my life, but there were not that many examples. So in Europe, that were around, we had Jacques Cousteau, we had Hans Haas, but I mean, Hans Haas had a wife, so that was kind of my saving grace, because she was always on camera, and I, felt like, oh, there is a woman that is exploring the ocean. So, maybe that is possible. So no, but I think it is such an important conversation, and I really hope that it will change a lot of things moving forward,
Yeah, and I think it starts with just having these conversations and just thinking about it, like in our everyday interactions with people too. But specifically for anyone who might be watching, who is obviously interested in plastic pollution and the environmental movement, I think it's important to look at that when you are sourcing information, sharing information, maybe creating media or content around these issues, especially, I mean, plastic pollution, it's not hard to look in any place like Southeast Asia and Maldives and, like Costa, there's like so many different, it's a lot of the developed nations that's why China said no to our plastic, and China shut it down. And that's why we are stuck with piles and piles and tons of it right now. The fact that none of it's getting recycled right here, and we're still acting the way we are, like, has the behavior changed? It did. It's starting to, for sure. But I'd also think that because of the pandemic, it was kind of like an easy out, because even like now, when I came back from Australia, and the grocery stores were like, we can't let you bring your reusable bags in. I was like, oh my God, what do I do? It's something as simple as, like, when people will ask me, what do I do if I go to the airport and I need water though? Like, if I don't, I need to buy a plastic, but I'm like, it's very easy. Just bring now people are doing it a lot more. bring your own bottle in and then just go through security empty and then fill it up. It's like bring your own cup. It's very easy. And now a lot of people are used to that. And once you just get used to that behavioral change, it just gets, it's kind of weird not to anymore, right? It'd be super weird to go buy, a plastic bottle or whatever. But it was really weird for me to come home and be like, what? I can't bring my reusable bag to the grocery store? Like, what do I do? And obviously, it took like all of, less than a minute to think, oh yeah, well, why don't I just take it back out in the cart and then go to my car and then have my bags there and then I'll just bag it up by my car, right? Like that's a very simple workaround during the pandemic, at least in the US, at least in the states that have banned plastic bags and have changed the protocol to be safe, but also to be able to continue the behavior that we've already established or created that was such a baby step forward, into the big realm of things. I think one of the things that people felt moved or felt connected to with my documentary was there was the action point right after. And I think because plastic is so ubiquitous and proliferated around the world, it's just like we all encounter it. Most every single person on the planet, besides maybe the highlands in Papua New Guinea, or the tribes in the Amazon, encounter plastic in some way, shape, or form through polyester, through touching handles, through whatever, through, whatever pens and stuff, every single day, right? So it's just like in your face all the time. So I think people really gravitated towards the idea that like, oh, I can make these small changes, with the plastic straw after seeing that your video, and people are all on board with, now I got I've had these for a while, but the glass straws from Simply Straws, or, just changing behaviorally, in that sense. But I feel like, so that's good, but I feel like it's changed a little bit during the pandemic, because everything
priorities shifted, right? That's what I feel.
has to be wrapped now too. Like you can't. When I was flying back from Australia after having the coronavirus, like it was very empty. It was like at the height of like just when people were figuring out what's going on, and one of the few flights home, and everything was prepackaged. Everything, they can't give you anything, even on like movie sets and whatever production sets now. Like there's no just like going up and grabbing an apple. It has to be wrapped in plastic. It has to be completely solo, for sanitary purposes. I understand what they're getting at, but it's very hard as someone who has conditioned yourself to like say no and try to like bring your own, and just it's weird. It's very weird. And so that was my little tidbit of like the grocery store run in right when I got back. And just still little things that you can do. But it's just become even more disposable, I think, this year. I feel like this year is just, I don't even know what to say about this year.
We can cross it out, I think. We just need to get it over with, and then we need to like erase it from our statistics.
Yeah, and we're
about 2020.
I feel like we were so naive when it was just about, whipped coffee. The like whipped coffee, Dalgona coffee that went viral in the beginning. And I was like, oh, this is fun. No, actually. So yeah, it's been interesting to see how things have unfolded, not just this year, but just throughout the years with the plastic movement. And I totally commend you for taking that initiative and just putting it out there, and look at where it's led you. It's just that's kind of how what happened to me too. Like I put it out there. I want to share it and get it out to the most eyeballs. And it was on Netflix, and it's on Nat Geo in the Nordics right now. It's also available just at plasticparadisemovie.com, and I believe it's still on like the Amazons and Hulus and such for rental.
And we will actually have a private screening later this week. So whoever is interested in seeing it, just follow Facebook and all of our social media outlets where you can register, and then you will be able to see it as well if you haven't seen it in the past. And, but talking about, getting the story out there. So you actually have another story that you recently made. This is also about plastic pollution, which actually got an Emmy nomination, which I think is pretty freaking awesome. So maybe you want to tell us a little bit about that because I'm really curious. I just saw one of the posts and yeah.
Yeah, so it was a short piece for work, and it was on this surfboard shaper who's trying to go zero waste in his shop, and Ryan Harris from Earth Technologies. And I had met Ryan and Eddie, this guy who had these like, he's very into kind of the full circle, cradle to grave uh, sort of systems. It's called Living Earth Systems, and really into gardening and farming and agricultural, like how to be subsistent farmers basically, and how to use the land and how we can use it through science. And so Eddie found there was a couple of papers and there was a couple of scientists who actually found out in the lab that these worms, this type of mealworm, can eat styrofoam and then turn it into, they poop out like organic material. So they can actually digest it in their tract with whatever is there. And so they had met each other at the Global Wave Conference, and we were all there. This was a couple of years ago, and I was like, "This is cool. I really want to do a story on you." And it was kind of the perfect opportunity. It was for our Earth Day special, and it got an Emmy nomination, which was really cool because I wrote, produced, and shot and edited all of it, and it was really neat to actually see it in action, them in action, and so these worms just they eat while he's making the surfboard. There's about, for a short board, it would be like 5 pounds of waste for a 5 pound surfboard. So it becomes a lot of waste when you're shaping all these boards, at least on a small local surf shape level. So he's being able to go completely zero waste in the shop, which is really cool. And through these crazy worms, which I think the question was, and they were very hesitant too, they said there needs to be a lot more research in it on how to scale up. But if we can scale it up, does this mean that we can actually use it in a larger scale in, recycling facilities or with styrofoam or whatnot? Because the worms just eat everything and it's crazy. They're kind of creepy looking too, but
yeah, worms, right? I mean,
yeah, they're huge. I mean, they're big worms. I mean, they eat their weight in styrofoam and stuff. But again, both Eddie and Ryan had emphasized that this is not a fix. This is like a Band-Aid, and they say it's about stopping it early on. So instead of taking the styrofoam container, bringing your own container. I know now we cannot, and I know right now, especially at least where I'm at, people are doing a lot of takeaway food still. They're doing takeout and carry away, but they won't let you bring your own. So then there's just a lot more waste happening at the moment. I'm not really sure what to say about that. I kind of get frustrated with it too because I just honestly cook at home mostly, and I don't really do takeout. I never really did anyways, but I think just during the COVID times, it's weird. It's definitely weird. But I have a funny story with when I was in hospital isolation with COVID in Australia as the first case in Cairns. I I remember them bringing over like the hospital tray of food, and at first it was like the cutlery and the silverware, and they still had the plastic lids on the food tray. But I was like, oh man! And I remembered I brought my own utensil kit, so I have my own utensil kit that I brought just for traveling. And I was like, oh, because so first they had the metal cutlery, and then they realized that I was the first COVID patient, and they were like, no, just give her the plastic ones every day. I was like, that's like 3 times a day. But I remembered I had my own kit, my bamboo utensils, and I chose not to use the disposable plastic in the hospital.
that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it helps. I mean, what we see here on our beaches, and I've heard that from other parts of the world as well, is just like how many disposable masks, gloves, and all the things that you find right now on the beach is just ridiculous.
No,
Um,
and I don't really know what to say about all of that either. I don't think that the gloves really do anything. Just wash your hands. A lot of like making sure you have good hygiene. Don't touch your face. Wash your hands. With a mask, I have my
reusable one. I have
Yeah.
a reusable one.
So you just kind of have to have them on rotation. It's almost like having like a pair of underwear nowadays, and you're like, oh
Yeah.
shoot, I always leave the house without it. You have to run back in. But like having like a good stack of them, or like, putting in my car and stuff too. And now the latest report was that I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think it's CDC, or it was just a report that was released yesterday, that the N95 masks with the little valve, with the little
Yeah.
exhale valve or whatever, actually isn't helpful, because it helps block for the person wearing it, but you also breathe out um, your own
So
germs.
it's more protection than it's actually helping. Because I mean, from all the studies I've read, masks are really about, if you are the contagious part, trying to keep it
Right.
towards you, not so much. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not in the illusion that my little reusable mask is giving me any protection. I mean, this is really like, unless it had a biofilter, which it doesn't, I don't think that will be happening. But like, I know that I am a young person, not a risk group. I could be asymptomatic or just in the beginning of an infection every time I leave my house. So for me, it's really about, I'm trying to protect everybody else from a potential danger that I could, pose. And
Yeah,
I didn't even know that. Yeah, but it makes sense because N95 is a protection for yourself. It's not really meant to protect everybody else.
right, right. So, I mean, that was like brand new too. But I think, yeah, in general, like working for the collective good has always been, hard to galvanize the troops, right? But like, I mean, look at what you have done with, just like the moment that you captured. And now a lot of places are, don't serve straws, use paper straws, or, don't don't use this silly little, disposable thing. And we can. So it shows we can get people, we can, the young people are out there marching with the,
Yeah.
climate change stuff. So it's like, now you see hundreds of thousands of people protesting against police brutality, and, just the civil right to breathe, like it's just interesting. It seems a very, just kind of watching what's going on, uh, odd time with juxtaposing people who are saying I can't breathe because, you know, um, because of the color of my skin,
Ah,
versus I can't breathe because I have
mhm.
I have my
Yeah,
right
I'm
to not
gone.
wear a mask. It becomes politicized, like a health crisis. I mean, I think all of I just think that it's a very divided time, and I
It
think that
is, but sometimes it's also, I have literally my patience for idiots has kind of run out. Like, I mean, really, if it's all about you, then stay home. If you don't want to wear a mask, then stay home, but keep out of the public spaces because there are rules in society, not to protect yourself, but everybody else around you as well, right? Because maybe you might not have diabetes or hypertension, but other people might have, and they might die from this virus that maybe you will only get and you have maybe very few symptoms, right? But talking about influencing, so actually one campaign that I've been participating in for Plastic Free July, it's called hashtag See My Mask, See as an ocean, like SEA.
Mhm.
So you just kind of show your reusable mask because we have seen so many reports about the mask. So you just kind of snap it on Instagram, have you yourself with your reusable mask, See My Mask. And it was actually started by, I think, 5 minute beach cleanup or 5 minute cleanup. So that's a really cool way, of how we can hopefully perpetuate that a little bit. The
Yeah,
ways of how you can still be safe and, keep other people safe, but still reduce the amount of plastics that you use in that circumstance.
oh, that's great. Yeah, I'll definitely do that. And there's also like, I know Surfrider's been doing solo beach cleanups, just so they're not
Yeah.
gathering in groups and stuff. But
Actually,
you can
actually,
always,
I think yesterday I saw one that's like in Europe. I think it was started in Europe, the plastic challenge. We can probably post something later on, but it's exactly about the solo beach cleanup. It's like a competition. So who has the most time on the beach? Who has collected the most plastic? So you
that's,
can register yourself in this account, and you can pretty much lock your times. You can lock your items that you found, all kinds of cool stuff, and so it's all about the competition of who is doing the most and the best, I guess, which is really fun.
yeah,
Um,
blogging or like what Literati app has done to.
Yeah,
I mean,
I love all of that.
we all got the time. You all got time. So, like when
Very
maybe
true.
people are, yeah, just kind of in furlough
Not
or
hard pressed for anything, any time wise. I'd see the same thing. I think we don't have any excuses actually. We don't have any excuse right now to not get educated because we have enough time on hand to really dive deep into whatever interests us. And I think we also don't have an excuse time wise of why we're not doing certain things. I think now is the time really to make changes at home because you are there all the freaking time, right? So why not now? I mean, because in a few months everybody will go back to their busy lifestyle, and how awesome would it be to already have routines in place that you just kind of don't even have to think about anymore just because you're already so automatically doing them. Because I remember every time I move to a new place and I'm trying to figure out where can I get like my unpacked food supplies, or where can I find stuff that's not wrapped in plastic, rice, or what comes in a cardboard box. Because each country, each region is different, and it really takes so much time to find those products. But once you have all of that in place, it's really just kind of like you do it over and over again, right? Up until you move somewhere else and then it's new again. But now is really, I feel, the time to kind of get those routines and those habits. And maybe you can share with us, because I'm pretty sure that usually you're very busy, but maybe you can give us like three things that you think, that everybody should be able to do, even no matter how busy they are, and which are super cool fixes. Maybe something that is not the typical, like something that you're doing, because maybe a little bit beyond like I'm pretty sure you're doing more than just bringing your own reusable bags to the store. So maybe there's something that you think.
I'm like, it's so funny because it's kind of just ingrained in me to not deal with, or try to stay away from the disposable plastic stuff. So I'm like, what do I do that's different from everyone else?
Probably everything, but
No, no. I mean, like, I'm again, like, that's why I say that I'm accidental. And it's funny that I wrote a children's book when I was in fifth grade about cleaning up pollution and stuff. But um, I'm trying to think of like something above and beyond anyone else. Again, like I feel like I'm the same as anybody else. Like the things that I do are the same things that anyone else can do. And I mean, that was just like the quick little thing that I thought of, there's many times where I've been at the grocery store and people, cause what else are we doing now? Like no one's really going out to eat either. So we're just buying groceries and baking and, you know, uh, trying out recipes. That's been huge at this whole stay at home, shutdown and stuff. And so, I've had many people like come up to us while we're putting our groceries in the car and being like, "Oh wow, that's a good idea. Oh, I didn't even think of that." It's just little things that you just don't even think of.
you even mentioned something else at the airport, right? That you just bring your empty coffee cup or your empty water bottle, and then you go to the Starbucks. Well, sorry, I don't want to do any
No,
advertising
no,
here, but the
actually,
big
fountains
green
now,
coffee
a lot of
thing.
places have fountains. So you just go through security and you find the fountain
Exactly.
has the little spout. At least where I'm at, it seems like it's become more the norm. Um, which so that's what I mean. Like the things that I do, I just think, oh, but that's normal. Everyone does it. Realizing that, oh, there are a lot of places that still don't do it.
Yeah.
And I've been called the plastic police by my family, and they're like, hide the plastic marks and stuff when your aunt comes. And I don't want to be the plastic police. Like I don't want to be like. I don't think any of us necessarily need like I think activism should be something that's in your daily life, and it shouldn't be something that's like siloed for just, certain people. Like everyone should be an activist on every level. Everyone should get fired up about what's going on with, uh, seeing these horrific videos of police brutality. Like if we're going to get fired up over a plastic straw and a turtle, like we got to get fired up for lives, and
Oh
it's
hell yeah.
it's not really the divide is crazy right now. I think so in general with the plastic thing, going back to just kind of little things you can do is like, people should be fired up and just have it in the behavior. I don't know. I have so many of these like I just carry them around and put them. It's weird not to carry it. It's like carrying your purse or
Yeah.
wearing a watch. It should be as
So
simple.
maybe we can go through your bag. So what is like in a typical like your when you go out, like you mentioned already travel cutlery. You mentioned or we talked about a coffee cup probably. I mean because that's something that I always have with me. I actually have I made kind of a mason jar with a one of those beer cozies that you always get for free. Yeah, like I have one with a beer cozy around, and so I can use it either for water or for coffee, so it's not hot over my hands. Which
I'm
I bring also. But what else? Like what else do you have in your magic bag when you go
I think
out?
the smaller one is a big one. I think people are, into the bottles and stuff, or it seems like more people are into the bottles, but um, the cutlery is something people still like. They'll be like, I'm all about no straws and you bring your own water bottles and stuff. But then as soon as you get takeout and there's cutlery in there, that it's just like, okay, use it once and throw it away. I always say no. I always just like, I have to stare them down at the coffee shop too, like, no lid, no lid, like they'll try to put a lid. I'm like, don't put the lid, like you literally have to follow the person, the barista making it. But it's just so different now, now it's like mobile orders and you go and pick it up. And it's hard. It's hard. And I don't know what to say about navigating during the COVID times because obviously you want things to be sanitary. And obviously people have a lot of reservations of cleanliness and everything.
Yeah, but cutlery, I mean, if you're ordering food home, you have your own cutlery at home, right? So there's no reason to really bring cutlery. And actually, there's another, I think, at How Changes, Culture of Waste is actually having a huge campaign to get all these delivery services to have an option that you can say, I do not want cutlery and the spice packages and all the extra. Um, at least
So,
here in Costa Rica, Uber Eats at least is by default. They don't give you any of that, no straws, no nothing, and you have to choose if you want to have it. They ask you at the very end at the checkout. And then also there's an eco option, and they show you all the restaurants that do not use either styrofoam or plastics for their takeout containers, which is really nice. So you can choose pretty much restaurants based on their takeout containers, which are then usually made from paper or cardboard boxes. So it's
yeah.
possible. It
It's
really is. It's just that it needs the people. Costa Ricans are very eco-conscious, and it really
No,
needs.
Costa Rica's been on top of it. Like Costa Rica, I definitely commend on ecotourism is top notch and focus on sustainability and focus on making it more equitable for people. I think again, not there right now, so you would be the expert on that. But
Yeah, I really hope that the US will follow suit. That is such a large country could make such a huge difference globally, in plastic pollution. So that's really what I'm trying to get people to. But I know you're busy. I guess I feel somebody's already recording your time in the background. Maybe I don't know.
oh no, I
I
was
have to thank you
trying to.
from all my the what?
I was just trying to. There was like all these messages coming in. I was like,
Yeah,
please
yeah. An emergency maybe. But
yeah.
I don't want to steal any more of your time. I'm so grateful that you were here with us today. I'm super stoked and thank you so much for sharing everything you shared. I hope there's a lot of little girls, young girls out there that kind of see you and think, wow, she's amazing. I want to do exactly what she's doing. And yeah, I hope to see you actually in person again soonish.
I
Maybe
know.
at the next hero boot camp or something like that.
That will be so great, and I'm so glad we connected there. Yeah, no, thank you so much, Chris, for just doing what you do and keeping to amplify, um, you know, this issue and what needs to change, and for your scientific research and studies as well. So I definitely appreciate the time, and it's been super fun just to catch up with you. And if anyone has any questions or wants specifics on anything, like you can always reach me. I'm super accessible on Instagram or Twitter. I will try to get back to you. I check Instagram a lot more, so just DM me or whatnot, or even Facebook. But very easy to get in touch and would love to help out in any way. So if there's any other questions, just hit me up. Oh, I'm
Awesome. Thank you so much.
at Plastic Pete Ice.
Awesome. Yeah, don't forget, you can actually watch the documentary still somewhere else. But Also, remember there will be a live streaming event later on this week, so make sure to register if you want to see the documentary.
Okay.
So thank you so much, Angela,
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Have a
and
good
have
one.
a good day.
Thanks, you too. Bye.